The Great Galactic Empire, a massive coalition of different alien species, had ruled over vast stretches of the universe for centuries. They were known for their advanced technology, their powerful fleets, and their fearsome reputation. But even they, with all their might, had their eyes set on a small, seemingly insignificant planet in the far reaches of the galaxy, Earth. For years, Earth had been watching from the sidelines as the Empire and its enemies waged wars among the stars. Humans had only just begun to explore space in recent decades, building a small fleet and colonies on nearby planets like Mars and the Moon. Earth, for the most part, had stayed out of galactic politics, preferring to grow its technology and understanding of the universe at its own pace. That was until the Empire decided to make its move. A massive fleet of ships appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system, casting an enormous shadow across the planet. The ships were enormous, dwarfing anything humanity had ever built. Their sleek, dark exteriors gleamed like metal giants in the cold void of space. They were clearly here for business, not a simple visit. On board the lead ship, a tall alien emissary named Korlok stood in the command center. He was a high-ranking officer in the Galactic Empire, sent to deliver an important message to Earth's leaders. His species, the Valdarians, were known for their tall, bony frames and piercing eyes that seemed to see through everything. Korlok's presence alone struck fear into the hearts of many across the galaxy. With a deep voice, he spoke into a communicator. "This is Ambassador Korlok of the Galactic Empire. We come with an offer. Earth's position in the galaxy is unique. We request permission to use your solar system as a staging area for an upcoming military operation. Your resources and space could prove useful." His words were calm, almost as if the Empire expected Earth to simply agree without hesitation. But what the Empire didn't know was that humans had a history of defying expectations. Back on Earth, Secretary General Eliza Trent stood in the Grand Conference Room with her team of advisors. The message from Korlok had arrived hours earlier, and now they were discussing the Empire's request. Eliza was a sharp-minded, no-nonsense leader who had earned respect not only on Earth, but across the galaxy. She was known for her ability to think quickly and make tough decisions when needed. "Are they serious?" Eliza asked, her voice steady as she scanned the faces of her advisors. "They want to use our system. For what? And how does that affect us?" "I've read the reports, General," replied Dr. Ralston, the chief scientist. "The Empire's fleets are massive. If they're asking for access to our system, it could mean they're planning something big. They might use our planets as bases, our moons as outposts, and worse, they could be bringing war right to our doorstep. And they expect us to just let them." Eliza's eyebrows furrowed. "They've underestimated us if they think we'll roll over." There was a moment of silence before Eliza spoke again. "Prepare the response. Tell them Earth's answer is no. We will not allow them to use our solar system. We will protect our home, no matter the cost." Her decision was firm. The Empire, with all its power, had just underestimated the one thing that made Earth stand out: humanity's refusal to back down. As the message was sent, the Empire's fleet loomed larger in the sky, waiting for the response. Korlok, standing in the heart of his ship, received the reply from Earth. His eyes narrowed, and for the first time in years, he felt a small flicker of disbelief. "No," he murmured under his breath. "Earth has refused us." He quickly turned to his crew, his expression hardening. "Prepare the fleet. This will not go unchallenged. If Earth dares defy us, they will learn the cost of their defiance." Korlok's orders were swift. The Empire had no room for hesitation when it came to matters like this. And as the fleet began to advance, Earth's defenses went on high alert. The small human fleet in orbit, armed with experimental weaponry and the latest defense technology, was ready for whatever came next. Back on Earth, Eliza Trent watched the sky, knowing the Empire would not give up so easily. But she stood resolute. Humanity would fight to protect what was theirs. They would not be intimidated, not by an empire that thought they could control everything. As Earth's defenses powered up, The galaxy would soon know that humanity was no longer a passive player. Earth had just drawn a line in the sand, and no one, no matter how mighty, would be allowed to cross it. The Galactic Empire's fleet hovered just outside Earth's solar system, a constant reminder of the challenge humanity now faced. Ambassador Korlok, still reeling from Earth's bold refusal, stood at the center of the Empire's command ship, his mind racing. The once easy conquest of Earth now seemed like a far more difficult task. His species had never been refused, not by any civilization in their long history. He called for a private meeting with his top generals. The tension in the room was thick, as Korlok's calm demeanor barely hid the frustration he was feeling. "Prepare the fleet," Korlok said. His voice was icy, but carried a sense of quiet authority. "We cannot allow Earth to defy the Empire without consequences. But first, I want a different approach. Send in the probe ships. Let us test their resolve." The probe ships were smaller, less intimidating than the full force of the Empire's fleet. Their mission was simple: to probe Earth's defenses and send a message of the Empire's strength. These ships would not attack directly. They would simply show their presence, gathering information on Earth's readiness. And if Earth refused to react, the Empire could escalate. As the probes approached Earth, they sent a series of messages to the planet's communication networks. Their messages were not threats, but veiled warnings. "The Empire is watching. Earth's future depends on your cooperation." Back on Earth, Eliza Trent stood with her advisors in the central command room, watching the strange vessels on their radar screens. She knew the probes weren't just scouting the planet. They were testing them. But Earth wasn't going to back down. She had already made her decision, and there was no turning back now. "We've detected multiple probe ships entering the outer rim of our solar system," said Admiral Walker, a seasoned officer who had seen many battles in his time. "They're not engaging. They're just watching." "I know what they're doing," Eliza said, her voice calm but firm. "They want to see if we'll react. They're looking for weakness. Let's make sure we don't give them one." Eliza gave the order for Earth's defense systems to be readied, but she knew that simply showing their weapons wasn't enough. The Empire needed to know that humanity wasn't afraid, that they wouldn't bow to threats. The Empire's message continued to play over every communication channel, subtly trying to push Earth into submission. "The Empire does not negotiate with defiant nations. Your world is insignificant compared to the power we wield. Cooperate, and your civilization will prosper. Resist, and face the consequences." Eliza listened to the message over the comms. Her eyes narrowed, but there was no fear, only determination. "This is our moment," she said, standing tall. "We don't back down from threats. We'll show them that Earth has something that the Empire will never understand: unity. Our strength lies in our will to protect our world, no matter the cost." Meanwhile, across the galaxy, Korlok sat in his ship's command center, watching Earth's response. He expected immediate panic. He expected Earth to fold under the Empire's power. What he did not expect was the calm, unwavering refusal from the human leadership. Korlok's lips curled into a thin smile. "They refuse to see reason," he muttered. "It will be their downfall." He issued orders to his fleet. While the probe ships continued their observation, the main fleet would begin moving closer to Earth's defenses. The Empire was preparing for a more forceful approach. But the more Korlok studied Earth's responses, the more he realized this would not be an easy victory. Back on Earth, the situation grew tense. The probes had been circling for hours, sending back data to their commanders. But instead of flinching, Earth's leaders had used the time to prepare. Humanity wasn't scared, it was calculating. They were doing everything they could to strengthen their defenses without provoking outright conflict. "We've got something," Dr. Ralston said from his station, eyes glued to the data streams. "The Empire is shifting. They're trying to pinpoint weak points in our orbital defense network." Eliza turned to face her team. "If they think we'll crumble under pressure, they'd got another thing coming. Let them gather their data. Let them think we're just sitting here. We'll be ready. The Empire continued to send messages through the airwaves, trying to stir unrest among Earth's citizens, but the message had the opposite effect. Instead of fear, it only fueled the fire. People across the globe began to unite under the banner of Earth's defense, seeing the Empire for what it truly was, a force that believed it could control anyone and everyone. "Let's make sure they know they've made a mistake," Eliza said. And as the days passed, Corloc's frustration grew. Earth was proving harder to intimidate than he'd ever imagined. There was no panic, no signs of fear. Instead, there was something even more dangerous for the Empire: resolve. The days after the Empire's initial probe came and went, but the tension didn't fade. Instead, it grew. Earth had been given its warning, and the world knew the Empire would not stop until they got what they wanted. But rather than shrinking in fear, humanity prepared for the worst. Eliza Trent stood in the heart of Earth's command center, her mind focused as she looked over the latest reports. She could feel the weight of the decision she had made, but there was no second-guessing now. The Empire had underestimated Earth's resolve, and they would soon realize that this was not a fight they could win easily. Admiral Walker approached her, his expression serious. "General, the Empire is advancing. Their fleet is moving closer to our outer defenses. We estimate they'll be in range within the next 24 hours. Eliza nodded. "I know, and we'll be ready for them. It's time to show them what humanity can do when it's cornered." She turned to the large screen in front of her, showing images of Earth's defenses, the ships in orbit, the satellite shields, the energy barriers that were now fully active around the planet. It wasn't much compared to the Empire's full fleet, but it was enough to make the Empire think twice. The most important thing, though, was Earth's unity. For the first time, humanity was coming together for one common cause: survival. Meanwhile, in the heart of the Galactic Empire's fleet, Corlock stood before his commanders. His sharp eyes scanned the data coming in from Earth. The human defenses were stronger than expected, but there was no going back now. They couldn't afford to look weak. "We move forward," Corlock ordered, "prepared to breach Earth's defenses. It's time they learned their place." Corlock's words were firm, but a small flicker of doubt lingered in his mind. Despite the Empire's power, something about Earth troubled him. The humans were fighting with a determination he had not expected. They were not like other civilizations he had crushed before. They fought not just for survival, but for something deeper, a belief in themselves that made them dangerous. The Empire's fleet surged forward, cutting through space with incredible speed. Ships of every size and shape filled the sky, their advanced weapons systems powering up. But as they approached Earth, they were met with an unexpected sight. On Earth's surface, millions of people had gathered, not in fear, but in defiance. From every corner of the world, humans were showing their unity, their strength. The world's leaders had already set a plan in motion. They were preparing not just to defend Earth, but to show the Empire that they would never be ruled. Back in the command center, Eliza looked out over the Earth's response. The message was clear. The Empire was no longer dealing with a small, insignificant planet. Earth was standing together, ready to fight. "I've just received a message from the Global Council," Dr. Ralston said, breaking the silence. "They're calling for all nations to unite their forces. There are people rallying everywhere. The world is ready." Eliza smiled slightly, feeling a sense of pride. Humanity was facing the biggest threat they'd ever known, and instead of crumbling, they were uniting. It was exactly what she had hoped for. As the Empire's fleet closed in, Eliza turned to her team. "We've been given a chance to protect our planet. We won't waste it. This is our time to show the galaxy that Earth is no one's to take." The next few hours were a blur of activity. Earth's ships, though smaller than the Empire's, were ready to launch. The satellite defense systems were primed to launch their first barrage of energy missiles. The world's best engineers and military strategists had worked together to design these weapons, each one packed with a new kind of technology that the Empire had never seen before. Earth's ingenuity was about to be tested, and they were ready. In space, the Empire's ships hovered at the edge of Earth's atmosphere, waiting for the signal to attack. They could see the faint shimmer of Earth's defensive shields rising into place, but Korlok didn't hesitate. He had his orders. His people had never backed down from a fight. "Prepare the fleet for full assault," Korlok said, voice low. "The time for warnings is over." But as the first wave of Empire ships charged toward Earth's defenses, something unexpected happened. Earth's defenses activated faster than anyone had anticipated. Energy shields flashed into place around the planet, and a storm of high-tech missiles erupted from Earth's surface, striking the Empire's ships with pinpoint precision. The Empire's ships reeled, caught off guard by the sudden ferocity of Earth's response. Their shields flared under the force of the blast, and several ships were forced to retreat. But Korlok, though surprised, remained calm. "Impressive," he muttered, "but not enough." He signaled for the fleet to press on. The first wave had failed, but they would continue. Earth would learn that no one stood in the way of the Galactic Empire. On Earth, Eliza and her team watched the first wave of missiles make contact. The explosion of lights across the sky was a sight to behold. Their weapons had worked. The battle for Earth had begun. The battle above Earth was unlike any other the Galactic Empire had fought. Their massive ships, with advanced technology and weapons, had always been able to crush smaller forces in a matter of minutes. But here, against Earth, things were different. The first wave of missiles had thrown the Empire's fleet off balance, and for the first time in a long time, Korlok felt uncertainty. On Earth, Eliza Trent stood at the command center, her eyes fixed on the monitors. The images of battle were everywhere, but there was no time to celebrate. The Empire's retaliation was coming, and Earth had to stay prepared. "Admiral Walker, what's the status?" she asked, her voice steady. "The first wave has been repelled," Admiral Walker replied, "but they're regrouping for another assault. And this time, we expect a stronger push. We can't rely on our defenses alone. We need to engage them head-on." Eliza nodded. The situation was critical, but Earth had always been resilient in the face of danger. This time would be no different. She looked out over the team that had worked tirelessly to ensure Earth's survival. They were ready for whatever came next. "Begin deployment of our fleet," Eliza ordered. "Prepare all ships for immediate launch. We need to keep them on the defensive." Across Earth, in hidden bases and underground facilities, humanity's fleet was mobilizing. Ships that had been designed for this moment, smaller but faster than the Empire's, began to lift off, rising from Earth's surface with precision. Their engines roared as they soared into space, ready to join the fight. Meanwhile, above Earth, Korlok was watching the battlefield with growing frustration. His fleet had suffered a surprising blow, but he wasn't willing to admit defeat. He turned to his generals. "Gather the full strength of the fleet," he commanded. "We are not leaving until Earth's resistance is crushed. Prepare the disruptors. It's time to teach them a lesson." Korlok's voice was cold, but his eyes held a sense of determination. He knew Earth was putting up a fight, but that wouldn't stop the Empire from doing whatever it took to bring the planet under control. Back on Earth, Eliza and her team were preparing for the next wave. The air was thick with tension, but there was no room for fear. Humanity had come together like never before. It was clear now that this wasn't just about survival. It was about defending their home. They weren't going to let the Empire take what was theirs. "Ready for launch," Dr. Ralston said as he watched the countdown on his screen. The Earth fleet was prepared and waiting for the order to engage. Eliza stood tall, facing her team. "This is it," she said, her voice resolute. "We've made it this far, and we won't stop until the Empire knows that Earth is not a prize to be claimed." The first wave of Earth's ships shot forward, their engines blazing as they moved toward the enemy. The Empire's fleet was already regrouping, its ships forming a large formation as they prepared for battle. But Earth's ships were quick, darting in and out of the Empire's range, hitting the enemy where it hurt. The fight was intense. Each side launched powerful blasts of energy toward the other, the sounds of explosions and crashes filling the vacuum of space. The Empire's ships were massive, but Earth's ships had the advantage of speed and agility. They dodged incoming fire, retaliating with a barrage of missiles, each one aiming directly for the weak points in the Empire's ships. On Earth, the command center was alive with activity. Technicians and military leaders worked in sync, watching every move of the battle unfold. Despite the Empire's overwhelming force, Earth's fleet was holding its ground, showing that they could go toe-to-toe with the galaxy's most powerful empire. Korluk watched with growing anger. Despite the Empire's size and firepower, Earth was proving to be a more difficult opponent than expected. He clenched his fists, unwilling to back down. "Send the disruptors," Korluk ordered. "We'll destroy their defenses once and for all." The disruptors were weapons designed to break through even the most advanced shields, and Korluk believed they would give his fleet the upper hand. With a flash of light, the first wave of disruptor beams shot toward Earth's defenses. Earth's shields flickered but held, just for a moment. "We've got incoming disruptor beams," Dr. Ralston said, his voice tight with worry. "Shields are holding, but we won't last long if this keeps up." Eliza knew that the battle was far from over. She watched as Earth's shields strained against the Empire's attack. The situation was dire, but humanity had faced worse. The fight wasn't over. Not yet. "We're not giving up," Eliza said firmly. "Prepare the counterattack. If we can't rely on our shields, we'll need to hit them where it hurts. Let's show them that Earth doesn't break." As Earth's fleet regrouped for the next stage of battle, Korluk's frustration grew. He was determined to break Earth's spirit, to force them into submission. But the longer the battle raged, the more he realized that Earth wasn't like any world he had conquered before. Earth was different, and that was what terrified him. The battle was far from over. Above Earth, the war raged on with increasing intensity. The Empire's massive fleet continued to press forward, sending wave after wave of ships into the fray. But humanity wasn't backing down. Despite their smaller fleet and fewer resources, Earth's resolve was growing stronger with each passing moment. Eliza Trent stood in the command center, watching the screens that displayed the battle above. The situation was critical. Earth's defenses were starting to show signs of strain, and the Empire's disruptor beams had caused significant damage to some of the outer shields. But the humans were not finished yet. Eliza had something else in mind, something that could turn the tide in their favor. "We need to fight smarter, not just harder," Eliza said, turning to her team. "We've seen the Empire's tactics. They rely on brute strength and sheer numbers. We need to outsmart them." Dr. Ralston, one of Earth's top engineers, approached her, his face grim. "We've been developing something in secret. It's risky, but it might be the key to tipping the scales in our favor." Eliza raised an eyebrow. "What are you suggesting?" Ralston paused for a moment before answering. "We've been working on a prototype weapon, a system designed to disable the Empire's ships without destroying them completely. It's based on their own technology, using their weaknesses against them. But we haven't tested it fully." Eliza looked at him, weighing the risks. Time was running out. "We don't have time to test. Can it be deployed now?" Ralston nodded. "It can be ready in minutes." "Then prepare it," Eliza ordered. "We need every advantage we can get." As the Earth fleet continued to engage the Empire's ships, the situation grew more desperate. Earth's fleet was being pushed back, but the human ships kept fighting with fierce determination. The Empire's ships were enormous, but the smaller, faster Earth ships had learned to outmaneuver them, darting in and out of the chaos, striking wherever they could. It wasn't enough, but they were slowing the Empire down. Korluk, the commander of the Empire's fleet, stood on the bridge of his flagship, observing the battle with an air of frustration. He had underestimated Earth, and now the humans were proving to be more than a nuisance. "Why are they still resisting?" Corlock muttered. Their shields are weakening. Why haven't they surrendered? His fleet commanders stood in silence, unsure of how to respond. Corlock's eyes narrowed. Prepare for another push. We will crush them. Show them that resist. Back on Earth, Eliza and her team watched the results on their monitors. The Empire's fleet was in disarray. The weapon they had developed, designed to hijack the Empire's systems and interfere with their ships, was working. The Empire's fleet was paralyzed, its ships unable to move or fight. It's working, Dr. Ralston said, his voice filled with relief. The disruptor network is taking control of their systems. They're losing their grip on the battle. Eliza allowed herself a small smile. This is our chance. We need to act quickly before they recover. The human fleet, which had been pushed back, now surged forward, taking advantage of the Empire's moment of weakness. The Empire's ships, once formidable and overwhelming, were now sitting ducks in space, unable to defend themselves. The human ships dove in, striking with precision and speed, taking down Empire vessels one by one. The Empire's generals scrambled to regain control, but Earth's fleet was relentless. For the first time, Corlock felt fear. The tide was turning against him. Re-establish control of the fleet, Corlock shouted, his voice shaking with frustration. I want those ships back in action now. But the damage was done. Earth's forces pressed forward, using their new advantage to deliver blow after blow. The Empire's ships, once so imposing, now seemed vulnerable. Earth had found their weakness, and it was working. Corlock clenched his fists. The Empire was not accustomed to losing, and he was not ready to accept defeat. But the humans had proven something that shook him to his core. The Empire might be able to crush worlds, but Earth had something the Empire didn't understand: resilience. As Earth's ships continued their attack, Corlock knew this battle was far from over. He would regroup, reassess, and come back stronger. But for now, Earth had gained the upper hand. And that alone was enough to shift the balance of power in the galaxy. The battle for Earth had shifted in humanity's favor, but Eliza knew that the victory was far from secured. The Empire's fleet, crippled by Earth's new weapon, was regrouping. Corlock, the Empire's commander, the Earth fleet, though smaller and more vulnerable than the Empire's, was quick. The human ships darted into position, taking advantage of their agility. They were up against enormous odds, but their courage and determination were their greatest strength. As Earth's ships moved into formation, Corlock's flagship issued its orders. Launch the full assault, he said. Leave nothing standing. The Empire's ships began to move in a coordinated attack, firing massive blasts at Earth's ships. The force of the attack rocked the human fleet, but they didn't retreat. Instead, they pushed forward, striking back with all the strength they could muster. The battle raged with relentless intensity. Explosions filled the space between Earth and the Empire's ships. Bright flashes of energy lit up the darkness of space as the two forces collided. Earth's ships, smaller and faster, ducked and dodged the Empire's fire, returning fire whenever they found an opening. Eliza watched in awe as Earth's fleet performed with incredible precision. It was a symphony of human ingenuity and bravery. But even as they fought, she knew that the battle wasn't just about winning. It was about sending a message to the Empire. We can't stop now, she said, her voice resolute. We need to show them that Earth will never surrender. Back on the front lines, Earth's ships continued to push back, but the Empire was relentless. Their larger ships fired back with devastating power. Eliza knew that Earth's fleet wouldn't be able to hold out forever without reinforcements. Is there any word from our allies? Eliza asked urgently. Admiral Walker shook his head. No reinforcements yet, but we can't wait any longer. If we don't hit them hard now, we'll lose our chance. Eliza looked back at the screen, her eyes determined. The Empire's ships were closing in, but there was one last thing they could try. Launch everything we've got, she ordered. We're going all in. In that moment, Earth's fleet took the offensive. Every ship launched its remaining missiles, fired its remaining weapons, and charged toward the Empire. The human fleet fought with everything it had, pushing forward with a ferocity that caught the Empire off guard. Korlok watched in disbelief as Earth's ships launched their final assault. He had underestimated the humans, and now it was too late to stop them. "Retreat," Korlok ordered, realizing that the battle was slipping from his grasp. But it was too late. The human ships had already breached the Empire's defenses. The tide of the battle had turned once again. The battle above Earth had stretched for hours, but it was clear now. Victory was within humanity's grasp. Korlok's fleet had been driven back, their power shattered by the relentless spirit of Earth's defenders. The Empire had underestimated humanity's will to survive, and now the balance of the war was shifting. In the command center, Eliza stood before the large holographic display, watching as the last remnants of the Empire's fleet tried to retreat. But it was too late. Earth's fleet, battered but unbroken, pressed forward with unwavering determination. Eliza couldn't help but feel a sense of pride for her people, for the strength they had shown, but there was no time to rest. The war was far from over. "We've done it," Admiral Walker said, his voice filled with a rare sense of relief. "The Empire's fleet is retreating." Eliza nodded, but her face remained serious. "We can't stop now. We need to send them a message. Earth won't be taken. Ever." The holographic display shifted, showing Korlok's flagship in full retreat, its engines firing as it tried to escape the relentless pursuit of Earth's forces. But the damage had been done. The Empire's flagship was limping away, and with it, any hope for an immediate counterattack. However, there was something in Eliza's mind that still didn't sit right. She had fought countless battles, but the war with the Empire wasn't like any other. The Empire had vast resources, and they had shown time and time again that they wouldn't hesitate to strike back when they had the chance. There would be more attacks, and Earth needed to be ready. "Prepare the fleet for a counteroffensive," she ordered, her voice calm but firm. "We need to hit them while they're weakened. Take advantage of the chaos." Admiral Walker raised an eyebrow, surprised by her words. "You're saying we should attack their home base?" Eliza's eyes narrowed. "Yes, if we can strike at their heart, we can end this war before it drags on any longer. We have to show the Empire that Earth will never back down." Walker paused for a moment, clearly processing the gravity of her decision. Then he nodded. "Understood. I'll get the fleet ready." As the final remnants of the Empire's forces retreated into the darkness of space, Earth's fleet began to regroup. The damage to their ships had been severe, but their spirit was stronger than ever. The battle for survival had brought humanity together, and now they had the chance to strike back, to end the war once and for all. Meanwhile, Korlok sat in his flagship, his face twisted in frustration. He had lost the battle, but he was not yet ready to concede defeat. He looked out the viewport, watching the human fleet move into formation. "They'll pay for this," he muttered to himself, his eyes burning with anger. "We'll make them regret this." But even as he spoke those words, Korlok knew that the Empire was in a precarious position. Their forces had been depleted, their morale shattered. Earth had shown them that they were not invincible. Back on Earth, Eliza stood with a grim expression on her face. She knew that the decision to launch an attack on the Empire's home base was a dangerous one, but it was the only way to ensure that humanity's victory would be permanent. Earth had made its stand. It was time to finish what they had started. "Ready the fleet," she said again. "We launch in 1 hour. This war ends today." As the countdown began, the human fleet assembled into a formidable force. Ships moved into position, their weapons powered up, ready for the final push. The atmosphere was tense, but there was a sense of resolve in the air. This was their moment. This was their chance to show the universe that Earth would never bow to anyone. At the same time, on the Empire's homeworld, Korlok's commanders were scrambling. They had already lost so much, But they couldn't afford to give up now. They had to regroup, rebuild, and retaliate. The Empire's pride was on the line. The Empire had underestimated humanity's strength, but the tables had turned. Earth was no longer a helpless planet. It was a force to be reckoned with. The two fleets, one human and one Empire, prepared for the final confrontation. The battle would decide the fate of the galaxy. But Eliza knew one thing. Humanity had something that the Empire could never have: unity. They fought not for power, not for control, but for survival, for their future. As the ships prepared to make the jump into enemy territory, Eliza glanced back at the Earth, her heart swelling with pride. For Earth, she whispered to herself, for the future of humanity. The engines of the human fleet roared to life as they made their way toward the heart of the Empire. The battle was not over. But this time, Earth would take the fight to the Empire itself, and the galaxy would never forget the day when humanity stood up and refused to back down.